Welcome, garden friends. Thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your garden to see wait, it's not my garden. I have a special treat for you. This is Kevin Prall. What did you say, zone?
I'm a zone pusher.
Zone pusher extraordinaire.
Yeah,
He is growing,
self-proclaimed.
growing stuff in New Kensington that you can't believe. I have waited a long time to see this garden. I have heard about it for at least a decade, and you're in for a treat because you're going to get a tour with Kevin. And Kevin, I want to ask you a few questions before we get going. Where did you get the gardening bug?
I've had it my entire life. When I was a little kid, my mom always told me stories that instead of comic books on your bed at night when she'd shut my light off, I'd plant books in bed with me. Since I was like maybe 7 or 8 years old, I've always had the itch.
This space is spectacular. Talk a little bit about the vision of just seeing the house and thinking what the landscape could be, because this is what's special here. I don't think many people could really pre-visualize all this. I mean, it's a private sanctuary.
Well, I think it's, over the years with the love of the plants I've had and really kind of understanding the requirements of certain plants and just being educated and reading about all these things and how to put things together. I am fortunate that I do have a degree in landscape horticulture from Colorado State with a concentration in design, which really kind of helped give me that focus. But the plant love was always there. I just kind of fine-tuned that. And when I bought this property in New Kensington, I did see just a big blank palette. I'm not a fan of a lot of lawn. Lawn to me is just enough grass to set everything else off, like a little bit of nice flooring or carpeting in a house. But everything else is just fair game to have performers on the stage. And I guess I've had that, lucky to have that vision inside of me to really understand how these things could piece together. Trial and error too, for sure.
So the zone pushing, there's so many of us that do zone push, but not to the level you do. Zone push for me is growing a fig. Zone push for you is growing
palm
a palm tree in Pittsburgh. Why?
Well, prior to moving to Pittsburgh in 2010, I was in Florida for 3 years, and prior to that, I was born and raised in Colorado. And for some reason, I've always had this affinity for tropical plants because they were something I couldn't grow, something unusual, was always out of reach. I moved to Florida and I got that itch. I was exposed to all these wonderful things you could grow there. And then I got an opportunity to come up to Pittsburgh and work, which I took in 2010, and I couldn't shake that tropical bug, I guess. So I did the research and figured out what I could try to do.
And how many people told you were crazy, you couldn't do it?
When those palm trees went in March of 2014, you should have seen the incredulous look on all the neighbors' faces. I mean to tell you, they knew that some nut job moved into the neighborhood for sure. I proved them wrong, I think.
Are you still continuing to put plants in?
There's
not much space.
I don't have room. I decided I had a flat roof garage, and every time I looked down from like a Google Earth look, I would see all this wasted space on this flat roof garage. So when I replaced the roof, I replaced it with a conservatory and a rooftop deck, which allowed me to do a lot more plantings on the deck. So that I gained some space there, but hopefully one of these days my neighbors will sell me the lot next door and I can expand. But I'm still, hopefully that would happen. I'm really looking forward to doing that, so yeah.
So the big question is, what do you get out of it?
Just to sit here in my space and to look around me and to know that I have made the best use that, in my mind, you can do in a space and enjoy it and smell it and see it and appreciate all the seasons. I get so much solace and peace from that. I can't begin to tell you how good this place makes me feel. It's amazing.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us.
You're more than welcome to come anytime.
Such a pleasure.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, let's start right here. Now, I was under the assumption this thing somehow was dug out of here and put in every winter. It grows in this climate?
It has been in the ground since March 30th of 2014, and I protect it every year starting in mid-November until about the first week of March. I literally build a little structure around it, scaffolding, cover it with, heavier blankets, and I heat the inside of it with Christmas lights.
Why?
Because I like palm trees.
Because you're crazy.
Because I'm crazy, because I like palm trees. I lived in Florida for 3 years prior to coming to Pennsylvania in 2010. I moved here, and I couldn't shake that tropical itch I got down there.
Unbelievable.
And it's happy. And actually, this one, most years, this year she's held back, but I usually get a lot of seeds, and I have baby windmill palms come up all over the yard. I mean, there, see?
What are people's reaction when they see something like this? Now, this might not,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, well, that's,
Yeah.
but this thing, how big was it when you put it in?
About as tall as me.
Wow.
It's literally more than doubled.
And how did you know that it would live, and how did you know how to do it?
Just through just a lot of discussions on Facebook with plant groups that I belong to. It's a group called Zone Pushers I belong to that you just learn a lot. Plus, I've always had an affinity for horticulture and kind of knew what palms were subtropical enough to get away with it. Other palms, like you see people using coconuts or Adonidias, certain types of palms that you might see, majesty palms, you'll see those brought at the big boxes. Those are way too tropical to push.
Okay.
Here, you can get away with it if you know what species to use.
And I can barely keep my fig tree alive. I'm ashamed.
No, it's all right. It does take a lot of effort. It takes me about 3 solid days, 2 of us, to protect all the palms that are in the yard.
Man, that's something.
Yeah, and they're amazing.
Okay, right here, another plant I didn't know.
Yeah, this is tree clethra. Clethra I believe it's I can't remember. It starts with a B. Anyway,
right,
the
that's close
species, we'll have to look it up. It's astounding. It's been blooming for about a month. When it first starts blooming, it's pretty fragrant, and I think I liken it to probably like a rubrum lily, real heavy, dense smell. It's astounding in bloom, and then you get little capsules that hang on through the winter time. It has a really beautiful peeling bark as it ages, like a Stewardia would have. It's flawless. It's bulletproof. It's easy to grow.
Tell me a little bit about the work of keeping this all going. So you said, though, anything in a pot goes back inside.
Anything in a pot
so
goes
that's a lot of work.
Undercover. Takes me a couple days to move things in and out. And that there is a trifoliate orange called Flying Dragon. That is the most northerly grown hardy orange of the orange genus that you actually, of the Cirrus, this is Pond Cirrus, but of the citrus genus, this is the most northerly growing one that we can have here. I do nothing to it.
Cordyline.
There's a story behind that. That was a 50-cent, 1-gallon throwaway 10 years ago. And I saved it every year. And cordylines, people don't realize it, but cordylines are actually southern hemisphere tree form plants over time.
Hardy banana back there?
Basjoo banana, perfectly fine. 2 years in the ground, and look how big it is from a 1-gallon pot.
Okay, there's one that we have in common. Mm-hmm. I'm able to keep that one going.
That's easy. A pile of mulch over the bottom and you're good to go.
Well, here's another one I've never seen before.
Yeah, that's an unusual plant that goes under cover in the winter. This is called a tree dandelion. It's from the Canary Islands. And yeah, it looks like a dandelion, but it actually becomes kind of a large shrub. In March of every year, inside in the conservatory, it throws a huge head of gold yellow dandelion-like blooms. It's amazing. Yep, it's unusual.
Is it a southern magnolia?
This is called Edith Bogue southern magnolia, which is a pretty hardy variety. I planted it back in 2015. Of course, that winter we had a polar vortex. It went from 6 feet to 3 feet, and ever since then it's been nonstop. Yeah, I've got to get it off the house. I don't care. I love it.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I don't love it.
It's going to get big.
I don't care. I love it. We'll just get the pruners out. We're good. But it's absolutely, I bet I get 150 flowers on this every year. It's just finished a big bloom. It's amazing.
Climbing hydrangea, which one?
This is called Miranda.
That's what I figured.
Never has bloomed, but I don't care because, well, there is a flower there. I take it back. The foliage is what sells this. Another windmill palm. This is a female, obviously.
And then, ta-da!
Yeah, this is our gardenia. Of course, this is in a big pot, buried by impatience.
Oh, I got to get
it's
up
extraordinarily fragrant. You can't beat that. And it's I've had it for years. It's literally got a pretty serious trunk on it.
Give us a secret to growing gardenias, because people really struggle with them.
In the wintertime, you've got to keep them cool and keep them sunny. That's the key. If it's too warm in the house, I guarantee you'll have a spider mite infestation you can't get rid of. That's the big problem. Lots of sun and cool. Unfortunately, I've got that. That is Korean larch, Larix kemphori. I wanted a skinny, weird plant, and it's deciduous conifer.
Skinny and weird.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's this. There's some bamboo in here that I've been slowly getting rid of. Hence why the branches are so high. The bamboo used to be that high, so
You're
I'm
welcome
winning.
to come to my place and get rid of any bamboo you want to get rid of.
Well, it's the worst thing ever. But
It was
anyway.
the worst thing my worst mistake.
Yep, it's a terrible thing to
And
have.
I think
but
it's the same exact one.
Yeah.
I think the guy told me it's clumping. It's not
yeah,
going to spread.
That's
Don't worry about
Pseudosausa palmata, and it's nasty.
it. It is nasty.
It will lift the brick.
Yeah.
It's nasty, but just you experiment and then you get rid of it.
You got plenty of figs back
In
there.
a pot, yeah. Friend of mine gave me that. He moved away and I kept it and it's happy.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh, that southern magnolia is something underneath
Yeah,
there.
I love looking out the kitchen window in the wintertime and seeing all these leaves. It's nice.
Amazing.
Yep, and this is a camellia. This is April Kiss.
Oh, you got to be kidding
No,
me.
this is April Kiss.
And
Double
it stays here
Perfectly fine.
and it blooms.
Beautifully.
Now I officially hate you.
Oh, different things. This is moonlight climbing hydrangea.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm about ready to say, do I really need this on my house? It was an experiment. I thought, let's see if this will grow. Well,
And
Yeah.
for a plant like this, it's okay to catch in here. It's not going to hurt anything.
I have,
right?
as long as you don't let it get under like shingles, and I got to get up there because it's up there trying to do that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy. And this literally, from a 2-gallon pot, is 7 years old.
You're not going all the way up there.
No, the person that comes and trims the mimosa will trim this.
Okay.
Believe me, I got
you're
plans.
You're a smart guy.
I got plans.
So the question is, for these sago palms, how do you move something that big in?
You'd be surprised. You get a pretty nice heavy-duty dolly and maybe one other person just to kind of guide you through this jungle I've got, and they're not bad. You just have to move with
And
these
these
fronds.
aren't sticking you in the arm and
Oh, yeah. I've had a few. Yeah, they're pretty pricky, but I don't know. To me, they're so dramatic and so easy and bulletproof. Easy to grow. As long as you store them in the wintertime, cool sunroom, they do great. You just have to have the room because this thing is probably close to 6 feet across.
Oh, now I really hate you. Another camellia?
Yes, this
I'm
is
so envious.
This is April remembered, and every April, this particular last April, I counted no less than 50 flowers at one point on this plant. It was loaded. It was just pink.
Is this a variety that's like bred for like
Yes,
zone 6
this
or
is
something?
a Zone 6 variety
Still.
camellia, and as
Still through December, the December we had should have taken this thing out.
not even one bit of dieback. As long as you keep, I think the problem with that December is that not only was it so fast, but it was the wind.
Yeah.
And I was able to keep the wind off of this by just putting a blanket around it, and it made all the difference in the world.
And from here, I'm seeing a crepe myrtle that looks like it grows in the south.
Yep, that's
It's that big.
that is, I believe that one's Red Rocket.
And it never killed to the
Not
ground?
didn't wrap it, didn't do nothing, and it did not die one bit. Once crepe myrtles are really, really big like that, and that's probably 10 years from like a little 2-gallon,
Man, that thing is nice.
it's happy, and it's just about to be, in another 2 weeks, it's just solid pink on top.
Come on, how about some failure plants? Please, please. Well, now I'm perplexed again.
Okay.
Tell me.
Well, this is one that we can actually try to grow outside here. This is pink muley grass, and I decided to put it in a pot because I thought maybe I want to protect this in the winter. It's growing for pink fuzzies that come out of it later in the summer. But what I've noticed for this one is that I don't think anybody realizes it, but if you elevate it, you get amazingly long leaves. I don't understand
And
this.
it just has such a beautiful texture.
It does. It's without blooms, it's beautiful.
And
This
come
is
on.
my pride and joy. This
Yeah.
is Tasmanian tree fern, Dicksonia antarctica. It's been in the ground for 5 years. I literally just put a little block of 100 mini lights on a brick underneath it and throw blankets over it just to keep the wind and just to keep the cold off of it. And it's getting big.
What are the reactions like when regular people drive by and they see a palm?
I usually hear the brakes going on pretty hard. A skid in the street.
And this is
And
just
what's
remarkable.
wonderful, it just stops traffic, it starts conversation, it makes people wonder about gardening and what the potential is. And to me, being able to cause that to happen is profound. I love that.
Well, it's absolutely amazing. I have heard about this garden for years, and I'm so glad that you invited us to come see it.
Well, I'm
but
glad.
We're not done. Let's go look at some other stuff.
Okay, we'll do that.
For more information about everything we talked about today, go to DougOster.com, and I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of this guy's garden? Be sure to subscribe, like, and comment this video. And Kevin, thank you so much, my friend.
You're welcome.
This is
anytime,
amazing.
Anytime.